Our review of Season 2, Episode 3 starts right now. This is the way. Or is it?
What is up, everybody? My name is Chris. This is Jeff. Welcome to Cref. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Number one, if you haven't checked out our previous episodes, we're going to put them down in the description below. Definitely go check them out. And number two, this episode contains full spoilers. So if you haven't watched the episode, go watch it and come back and join us, okay?
All right, guys. So coming off that second episode, I was kind of in a foul mood, because I really think that Disney and Lucasfilm are really testing my patience and just testing the limits of what they can do to the fans. I mean, that second episode just really fell flat. Didn't move the story forward at all, right? And so we really want to see the Mandalorians. We want to see all these cool aspects of Star Wars that we all love. And so going to this third episode, I was just like on the edge of my seat, ready to see that. Because I know Dave Filoni can do it. I've seen Rebels, I've seen Clone Wars, and those have such amazing storylines.
Oh, yeah.
I know he can bring it. And so I was really hoping for him to bring it this episode. How about you, Chris?
All right, guys, so I'll tell you what. My expectations for this episode were so low, okay? Super low, and I'll tell you why, right? The past two episodes didn't have much going on. The first episode, we had some good action scenes. We had the Mandalorian fighting the Krayt Dragon, which was an awesome scene where you had the Tusken Raiders, you had the Mandalorian, you had the Marshal all kind of come together. That was a cool concept, but again, really didn't move the story forward. In the second episode, again, you kind of had the same thing where they crashed on the ice planet. You have the Mandalorian fighting the ice spiders, and again, X-Wings, which was great, but again, not moving the story forward. Nope. Frog Lady, Baby Yoda eating the babies, not moving the story forward. So at the end of the second episode, where they basically just cut it off, and we're like, okay, well, I guess we're not going anywhere with this. My expectations were down here. So in this episode, when I was just waiting for something to happen, anything. Just show me another Boba Fett helmet. Show me anything that just get me excited again.
So the episode starts with Mando and the Frog Lady crash landing onto this planet of Trask, which again was pretty exciting. Great way to start off the episode. And then, of course, which I thought was really cute, was when Frog Lady and Frog Husband reunite. Yeah. They kind of both start croaking at each other and run towards each other. Which, again, it was a little corny, but it was cute, right? But the thing to note, which I really loved in that part, was you see this mysterious hooded lady, and I was finally, we're seeing the depth again, the stuff again, right? We're seeing, who is this person? What's she about, right? And, Chris, you thought she was a Sith, right? I mean, I don't know about that.
Here's the thing, guys, right? Disney has teased us so many times with these dark hooded figures. Like in the first episode at the end, you had Boba Fett dark and hooded, right? So whenever I see these dark hooded figures, I'm like, Disney, give me more. And probably what's going to happen is, they teased us in this episode with that Sith. Again, it could be a Sith, it could be a Jedi, who knows? But they're probably not going to show us who that person is until like 3 episodes after. But at least we've seen that. At least they're getting into some of the more of the deep stuff. So I was happy about that.
So they go into this bar, no surprise there, and Mando is obviously looking for information about the other Mandalorians. And at this point, it's almost a parody of itself because you know that the information that Mando gets is probably going to lead him to some dangerous situation, right? And he gets this information which at the time seemed credible, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You know how whipped I am by Disney? I thought at this point, I was like, there's no way they're going to be like, oh, here's information about the Mandalorians, and it's going to go a completely different way, just like the other two episodes. Yep. So I was like, oh, this is a good thing.
They wouldn't do it again.
No, of course not. But obviously, they should have listened to the other famous Mon Calamari, who said, it's a trap! It's a trap! So after they leave the bar, the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda get on this ship. Apparently on the way to go meet the Mandalorians, right? And there's this moment where one of the fishermen guys is like, oh, why don't you come over here and see how we feed the Mammacore, right? Oh yeah, bring the child over too. And as this is happening, I'm like, there's no way they're going to push Baby Yoda in. There's no way this is happening.
No way.
But as it's happening, I'm just getting more and more tense, like, no way. Nope, that's not going to happen. Nope. And then all of a sudden, they push Baby Yoda in, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they actually did this. So Baby Yoda just basically gets knocked into the mouth of basically, I think it's called the Mammacore, right? Which basically looks like the Sarlacc, but underwater, like in episode 6, right? And, the Mandalorian is drowning, and at this point I'm like, okay, I think we're going to get into another big creature episode again. What did you think about this?
Oh, man. At this point, I was just kind of like knocking my head up against the wall. Like, come on. Yeah. 2 episodes of this. We don't need another big creature, right? But then, right, just when you think everything is just going to go south, what happens? You see come out of the sky, Mandalorian. Yes.
I'll tell you what, guys. The last thing I expected was to see Mandalorians in this episode, and I was super excited because number one, not only do we get Mandalorians, we get 3 Mandalorians, right? Not only do we get 3 Mandalorians, we get Mandalorians that we've actually seen before, at least one of them, Bo-katan, right? For those of you maybe that are newer Star Wars fans or haven't really explored some of the other stuff aside from the movies, Bo-katan, the main one, the one that takes off her mask and starts talking to Mandalorian, she's from Star Wars Rebels, and she's from the Clone Wars. So if you guys haven't seen that, I definitely suggest going and watching those because those are great shows, and it definitely helps with some of the lore and the characters they introduced in this show.
So now I'm pumped, I'm excited. I see those Mandalorians again swoop in, start kicking butt, start just kind of wiping out all the bad guys on the boat, right? And this is exactly what we've been waiting for, right? And so, the moment comes where they finally talk, and it's just, I feel like I've been on this long journey, and finally it's about to pay off, right? And then what happens, right? Takes their helmets off.
Oh boy,
right? It's like, oh no, is this
not
another
again, not again.
right? Is this another fake Mandalorian?
Yeah.
But no, what's interesting, right, is that when they find out who Mando is and where he's from and the covert that he's from, right, they say, oh, you're one of the Watch, right? They kind of, almost in a demeaning way, they're kind of like, oh, you're one of those religious zealots, right, that like never take their masks off, that try to, emulate the old ways, right? And this is kind of a theme you see a lot in Star Wars, right? It's like this dichotomy between the old ways and the new ways, right? Either when it comes to the Jedi or even the Mandalorians in this case, right?
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice way to kind of, bring in that dichotomy again. I thought that was really good.
So after the conversation that the Mandalorian has with Bo-Katan and the other 2 Mandalorians, right? It's obvious that because they don't hold to the way like he does, he doesn't really want to work with them. And at that point I was like, no, please work with them. Please. We waited all this time, don't just leave. But he ends up leaving the ship and they just end up leaving the ship, and it seems like they're not going to be working together again. But just like the rest of this episode, I was genuinely surprised when the Mandalorian is surrounded by those creatures, the other Mandalorians come and save his butt just again, right? And just as a side note, right? I don't know if you guys thought about this when you saw this, but when the Mandalorian's walking on the dock and that creature approaches him and says, oh, you killed my brother, the first thing I thought of was the Princess Bride when he says basically, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die, right?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
The first thing I thought of.
So after this fight, things are starting to get good, right? So Mando and the other Mandalorians, they have a talk, and Mando lets them know that he's looking for a Jedi. And when he mentioned it, I was like, finally. And then they say, oh, I can lead you to one of their kind. And I was just like, oh, yes, finally.
The plot moves forward.
Yes, exactly what we've been waiting for, right? But of course, this information isn't free, right? And they tell Mando that they need his help with a heist.
Yeah, this heist is kind of like having Ocean's 11 and Mandalorians put into one, right? Which is, I think is an awesome concept, right? Definitely. And another cool thing that I thought as well is that, for most of the first season and even the first 2 episodes of the second season, right? You got a lot of nostalgic nods to episode 4 or episode 1 with the pod racer engine, but some of the lore they were talking about, especially with the Mandalorians and the Mandalorian stuff, is sort of like hardcore Star Wars fan stuff. So I appreciate they put some of that stuff in there too.
So the heist begins, and it is amazing from the get-go. All the Mandalorians, they fly onto the freighter and they just start taking out stormtroopers left and right. And, it's awesome because it's like, it's so cool to see them taking out the stormtroopers, but you kind of feel bad for them, right? Because it's just like, there's basically just cannon fodder. They're just there to get blasted into smithereens, right? But, I mean, I loved it. This is what I wanted from episode 1. I mean, Chris, what did you think? Did you like it?
Yeah, because you know what it is? Mando is so used to working alone that you never really see him with other Mandalorians and then them having to work strategically, because usually it's sort of just like a big brawl, but them having to like going down hallways, almost like Navy SEALs, where they're kind of like signaling to each other and being strategic about it. That aspect I really liked.
Yeah.
One moment during the heist that I want to highlight is this moment where the other Mandalorians basically renege on their deal with the Mandalorian, right? And you can see kind of how conflicted he is because, this is his way, right? He doesn't break his word. He kind of he keeps to what he says. But the other Mandalorians, they're trying to just thinking about the end goal. And they're going to do whatever it takes to kind of take the ship and, get back to Mandalore and do all that stuff. So what did you kind of think about this?
Yeah, I mean, when that moment happens, you feel like a kind of profound sense of loneliness, right? That is just like, it's all, even though these other Mandalorians that we were hoping to see him reunited with them, right? There's just kind of like a real disconnect between him and them. And there's this moment where he's just kind of standing there and they're doing their own thing, and he's just kind of standing there kind of reflecting on what he's going to do next. And I love that moment so much because it's just, even though he's with them, you can tell he just feels very alone.
Yeah, it's almost like he's asking, like, is this the way?
Right. So as they're finishing up the heist, there's this moment where the Imperial officer gets a call from Moff Gideon, and he lets Moff Gideon know that these Mandalorians are going to take the ship for shore. And Moff Gideon's like, well, you know what to do. Long live the Empire. And he's like, yeah, long live the Empire. And he shoots the two pilots, and you're like, whoa! Like, Chris, have you ever seen that before? I've never seen that before. That kind of like devotion and loyalty was incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Think about episode 4, 5, 6, Rogue One, any of those things where most of the time Imperial soldiers are just kind of like these people are just doing their job, and they're just, they either get killed or they're just doing whatever Darth Vader or the Emperor tells them to do. Right. But I've never seen this level of, we're going to like end ourselves for a purpose. So I'm thinking that Moff Gideon kind of has his own sect within the Empire, maybe surrounding the fact that he has a Darksaber or something, where these are people are almost like a religious fanatic. Finally, the episode ends on what I think is a really high note. Why? Because, again, not much happens, but it's who's mentioned, and that person is Ahsoka Tano, right?
Ahsoka Tano,
right? And this is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, we can really see here that now the plot is advancing. We're bringing in other characters. We're bringing important characters in. Number two, if you're a fan of the Clone Wars show, you know who Ahsoka Tano is. Yep. She's the apprentice or the former apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. For those of you who haven't seen the show, definitely go watch it. But this is a really, really important character in the Star Wars canon. What did you think when you heard that?
Now we have a clear direction. And after all the rumors, to finally have her confirmed was amazing.
Yep.
Right? And not only that, it was the fact that, you get to see Baby Yoda with the, frog people and him playing with the little frog baby, which is, again, really cute. I mean, a huge improvement from the second episode, right? Where he was like eating them.
Yeah,
right?
I was still concerned about that.
Oh, yeah. I think, there was a lot of controversy around that. But again, like, it ended on a high note for sure.
Definitely.
And now I am really, really looking forward to the next episode.
All right, guys, time for our scores.
Moment of truth.
And I think I'll start with mine.
Okay.
There's three main things I liked about this episode. The first thing was the Mandalorians, and specifically how this episode actually chose to use them, because it wasn't just a big brawling fight of blaster fire and stuff. Right. It was actually seeing the Mandalorians together, exploring some of the lore, the conversations between them, and the kind of the crisis of conscience that the Mandalorian goes through with these other Mandalorians. I really like that.
Yeah.
The second aspect I liked is the fact that the plot actually moved forward, right? Like, it seems kind of ridiculous to say, but because of the past two episodes, the fact that we're actually moving things forward a little bit is good. And the last thing I would say is I really appreciated the fact they went into the lore. Again, for us longtime Star Wars fans, like, we really appreciate some of the nods they made to some of the deeper stuff in the Clone Wars or Knights of the Old Republic. So again, the combination of those three things, I would give this episode a 4.5 out of 5.
All right, guys, so now my score. Thinking about everything that you said, Chris, and just my experience with the episode, the thing that I really loved the most was the lore of the Mandalorians, of Mandalore itself. And it was very clear that Mando and the other Mandalorians had very differing ideas about what that meant, right? And it was also interesting to see the vulnerability he felt around other Mandalorians. We normally see him as the super invincible guy, but with them, I mean, he was clear that he was out of his element a little bit. He was kind of the odd one out. Yeah. And so that was great, right? Obviously the fighting was awesome, right? The heist was incredible. And then, of course, the mention of Ahsoka, right? Can't forget about Ahsoka, right? That was so exciting. Really lifted my spirits, really got me raring to go for the next episode. So with all that in mind, I think I would give this, again, a solid 4.5 out of 5.
All right, guys, that's our review. Thank you so much for watching. When you get a chance, let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Did you agree with us and say, hey, listen, this is one of the better episodes that I've seen? Or did you disagree and say, hey, listen, Chris and Jeff, this is a horrible episode. I can't believe you guys think this. Either way, let us know in the comments.
If you guys like hanging out with us today, please make sure to leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. It really does help us out a lot. And definitely make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Until then, we will see you on the next one.
And always remember, never get involved in a land war in Asia.
Fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia.